Hi, guys. So, if you remember, we read the stories Julian tells. We read more stories Julian tells. And then we read the stories that Huey tells. Remember, Huey is Julian's little brother. Well, now, guess what book I just got in the mail? Gloria's Way. And this book is written all about Gloria and stories that she tells. Remember, Gloria is Julian's best friend who lives down the street. So let's take a look. This is by the same author, Anne Cameron, and let's see what it says on the back blurb. It says it's Gloria's turn to tell her stories. Gloria is best friends with Julian and his little brother Huey, and she has as much to say as they do. There's the parrot that messes up the Valentine she made for her mother, Spunky, Huey's dog who can't stop chasing squirrels, and how Gloria cures him, and what happens when their friend Letitia tricks Gloria, Julian, and Huey, and they don't know it until it's too late. All right, well, today we're going to take a look at the first chapter. Here we go. The first chapter is called A Valentine for My Mother. A Valentine for my mother. I love my mom very much. If I could, I would give her everything beautiful. Gold and silver, diamonds and mountains, palaces with towers, and every tower with a flag, and every flag embroidered with her name. Lucy. I think it's the prettiest name in the world. But I don't have gold or silver or diamonds or mountains or palaces with towers or flags with her name to raise high in the air. So I made her a valentine. I went to the closet and found red, shiny wrapping paper. I got scissors and white paper and glue and markers from my mom's desk. With the red paper, I made a big heart. I cut holes in it to make 5 double doors. I glued a bigger white heart behind it. I cut the outside edge of the white paper into scallops with tiny holes in them, like lace. Inside the first double doors of my valentine, I drew a picture of my mom and her smile. In the other double doors, I wrote a message. I love you like the sky, but more. The red paper doors closed over the message. You had to notice the red paper was cut to open it and see the words. My mom would notice. She would open the doors carefully and read the words one by one. I found a needle in her sewing box. I threaded it with red thread and pushed it through the top of the valentine. I made a strong loop. Then I took the valentine outside and tied it to the brass knocker on our front door. My mom wouldn't be home for a long time yet. I did my homework, then I read a book. It was a windy afternoon. Bushes outside swayed and rubbed against the window. I wondered if my valentine was safe. I went to the door and opened it. My valentine was in trouble. It was pulling on its thread, spinning like a top. I started to take it down, and it made a ripping sound. It tore loose from the door. It flew. Oh no! I shouted. I grabbed for it. My valentine climbed the air like a shiny red kite. It took huge steps into the sky. A long way off, it came down in the street, and then it rolled. I ran after it as fast as I could. Stop! Stop! I yelled. It skimmed the street, sailing and sliding. It blew under a fence. It rolled into a yard. In the middle of that yard, there was a big cage. My valentine rolled into it. The cage went from the ground to higher than my head. When I got to it, my valentine, all perfect, except for its white edges, was lying right in front of me. Above it, swinging on a metal ring, was a great big green and blue parrot. "Hello," I said. "Hi!" screamed the parrot, loud like a person in pain. Then it swung upside down on its ring, perfectly calm, like a circus performer. It jumped to a horizontal bar right next to my head, so close I could see its ivory beak and the gleam in its yellow eye, the muscles in its scaly legs, and all its claws like long gray fingers. "Blue and green feathers are very pretty together, I think," I told the parrot. "No!" said the parrot in a strange, hoarse voice. "Well," I said, "if that's the way you're going to be." I knelt by the side of its cage. I slipped my hand between the bars. Curling and uncurling its gray claws, the parrot swung down the side of the cage. I pulled my hand out of the cage. "All right," I said, "let's just talk." But I didn't know what to say to a parrot. Tell the truth, I decided. "I can never move as fast as you can," I admitted. The parrot didn't answer. It opened its beak and then snapped it shut. Its beak was thick and strong and curved like a sword. "Do you bite?" I asked. "Don't bite," the parrot said in a woman's voice. "Don't bite. It's not nice." Somebody had tried to teach the parrot something, but maybe it had only learned the words, not the meaning. I looked at the house set way back in the yard. Maybe someone was home. I walked to the door and knocked. If somebody came, I would say, "Excuse me, but your parrot has my Valentine." Nobody came. I went back to the cage. I had to stick my hand in fast and get my Valentine, if I dared. The parrot was on its ring again, swinging and fluffing its shining green and blue feathers. "I want my Valentine, that's all," I said. "Guess again," the parrot said. Its throat puffed out and got as big as a person's when it talked. "What's your name, sweetie?" it asked. "Gloria," I answered. "Gloria Jones." It didn't say anything then. It just gripped the side of the cage and stared at me from the tiny black pupils of its yellow eyes. "I'm Gloria Jones," I repeated. "And like I said, all I want is my Valentine." The parrot looked puzzled and almost kind. "Tomato? Tomato?" it said. Up by its metal ring, it had a food tray that hung down from the ceiling on a pole. On the tray were 2 pieces of lettuce and a tomato. "Big Bird," the parrot said proudly. It sounded just like a man. It jabbed its fierce beak deep into the tomato. "Don't spill," I told it. Red juice spurted out. The parrot rolled its head so far in its eyes were on the bottom and its beak was on top. It stretched its claws and straightened its head and looked for something more to bite. In words it didn't say anything, but with its eyes it did. Maybe it meant, "Don't come into my yard and tell me what to do." Or maybe it meant, "What I just did to the tomato, I can do to you." "I don't want your tomato," I said. "I just want my Valentine." I could tell that it didn't believe me. It ruffled its feathers. They were shining like velvet. Under its tail, some of them were red and soft blue. "I am a friend," I said. "Friend, friend, friend," said the parrot in a bored voice. It jabbed another hole in the tomato. "Are you going to let me take my Valentine?" "Cleopatra, Cleopatra, no, no, no," said the parrot in its woman's voice. "This Valentine is not yours," I said. "Cleopatra, Cleopatra, I am Cleopatra," the parrot said in its man's voice. It jabbed 3 more holes in its tomato big, wet holes. I am not afraid of a bird, I said. I stooped close to my Valentine. The parrot watched me with angry eyes. This Valentine is for my mother, I said. I slipped my hand between the bars. The parrot dove to the bottom of the cage. I jerked my hand out. The parrot flew up to its metal ring. It reached its left leg up and covered its eye with its foot. I could tell it was thinking, but I didn't know what. It put its foot down on its tray. Tomatoes! Cleo likes tomatoes, it said. Sometimes, it added, and then it hit the tomato hard with its beak. The tomato rolled to the edge of the tray. It fell on my Valentine like a bomb. Tomato seeds were all over my Valentine. Juice ran in all the little doors where the words were. There was no use trying to rescue it. My Valentine was ruined. Cleo is a good girl, said the parrot. I hate you, I said. I don't know what the parrot looked like then because I couldn't see it, but I didn't care anyway. I ran and I just kept running. I didn't even know where. I was just running and crying and crying and running and wiping my eyes with my hands. I ran a long way. When I got out of breath, I was passing by Mr. Ralph Bates' car repair place. I know Mr. Bates. I have two friends, Julian and Huey, and Mr. Bates is their dad. I didn't want Mr. Bates to see me crying. I walked fast to get by his place, but he saw me anyway. Hi, Gloria, he said. I didn't say anything because I couldn't. Gloria, honey, come here. What's the matter? He said. So I told him I had a Valentine for my mom, but I didn't have it anymore because of a parrot that had wrecked it, and it was the very best Valentine I ever made. Then I cried, and he hugged me and lent me his handkerchief. I sat on the old couch in his office. Parrots have strange, interesting minds, he said, but Gloria, I hate to see your mind get messed up by somebody else's mind, especially a parrot's. I hate that parrot, I said. You had such a nice plan, Gloria, Mr. Bates said. Are you going to just give it up? I can't make another Valentine, I said. I don't have any more paper. I do, Mr. Bates said. I have lots of paper. He opened a drawer in his desk, and there it was, all nice and white. I have tape, too, and scissors, and a red pen, he said, and I have a whole lot of old newspapers. He pointed to them, back in a corner. I don't know, I said. What don't you know? If I make a Valentine, I want it to be like the last one, I said, and I don't have any red paper. Mr. Bates looked thoughtful. I believe you could make a new Valentine as good as the last one, he said, or better, even without red paper. Of course, you'd have to forget about the parrot and all that. You'd have to get back to thinking about your mom. I thought of my mom. I realized a strange thing. Everything that had happened was because I wanted to make her happy. But I was so mad I had forgotten about her. Instead of giving her red paper, you could give her special words, Mr. Bates said. You could find words like in the newspaper and cut them out and mix them until they make a special message. I looked at the newspaper in the corner. The first words I saw wouldn't make a good Valentine. They were war, guns, and death. Mr. Bates was watching my eyes. You'd need to look in the back pages for the nice words. You could sit right here at my desk and look for them. Okay, I said. We got a lot of newspapers. I sat down at Mr. Bates' beat-up old desk. He set the newspapers on top of it and reached into his desk drawer for a pair of scissors. Call me if you need me, he said. You know where the raisins are. In one corner of his office, Mr. Bates has a rubber tree plant that grows so slowly it will be 1,000 years before it grows an inch. That plant makes me feel calm. On top of the filing cabinet is where Mr. Bates keeps the raisins. I took some and I felt better. Mr. Bates' office is a good place. It's a place where you can just be how you are, and even if you feel bad, that is okay too. There are good words in the newspaper if you look inside. On the society page, I found dancing. On the home page, I found garden and raindrops. On the recipes for today page, I found honey. On the features page, I found bells. On the weather page, I found clouds. And there were even more good words, even mom. I took Mr. Bates' scissors and cut the words out. I arranged them all different ways. I looked for the way that sounded the best. Then I made a big heart out of white paper and taped the words on it. I made drawings of red flowers all around the edge. Mr. Bates, I called, I finished it. He came to look at my new Valentine. It turned out nice, he said. He found a big envelope for me to carry it in so the wind wouldn't tear it. I took a shortcut home so I didn't have to go by the parrot. Maybe someday, when I didn't have a Valentine, I would talk to it again. When I got to our house, I didn't tie the Valentine to our door knocker. I took it inside. My mom would be home any minute. I took my Valentine out of the envelope and read it one more time. Mom, you are like honey and clouds, a flower listening, a day dancing, tiniest raindrops in a garden, a night of bells, the stars just about to ring. The end.